Okay, you're good to
All
go.
right, we're good to go. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the March 2022 Lacey Park Board Commission meeting. So thank you for everyone in attendance. And do we have any, I was gonna say civilians, do we have any people, citizens in the queue, like witnessing right now?
We do not, no.
We do not, okay. All right, well then, call the meeting to order. Number two, so additions and deletions to the agenda. I would like to make propose a change. So 8A, I would like to change that from park board bylaws to park board rules of procedures. So can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Oh,
All
go
right.
ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So that being said, I'll motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
All right. All approved?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay. Announcements and introductions. So I think we do have a new park board member. So Dave Weber, would you like to start off and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'll go as quickly as I can. I've been in Lacey for 22 years now. Moved here exactly in the year 2000. That was to become the athletic director at the Evergreen State College. And I was there for 10 years doing that. Since that time, I guess you could say I've been kind of semi-retired, but I've done a little bit of everything, including in the sports and recreation type field. I have coached girls basketball at Tumwater for a couple years. And now I occasionally write sports for the Olympian. I'm not on the staff there, so I have no power to get stories printed. I'm finding more and more, just get that out of the way. And also I do a high school sports show on KGY on Friday mornings with another guy named Noel Wall. And that's about it. My daughter went through the North Thurston Public Schools and on to college from there. So that's about it.
Great, awesome. Thanks, Dave. It's great to have you aboard, and good to see a longtime Lacey citizen. And I am also a graduate of the North Thurston School District. So maybe why my handwriting is so bad. I don't know. I won't blame on anyone. So I'm Aaron Wheeler. I'm the current board commissioner, and I have spent over 30 years living in the Brentwood neighborhood and across the street from Windwood Park. And that's what encouraged me to want to be part of the park system as well and be on the board. And yeah, just another long-term Laceyonian. So good to have you aboard. Sarah, would you like to go next?
Sure. And welcome, Dave. Nice to have you as a member of the board. So my name is Sarah Daniels. Last year I served as the chair for the Parks Commission. I have lived in Lacey, not as well. Actually, I was really excited when Camber joined the board because I was feeling like such a newbie to the area. I've lived here now, I guess, 8 years, but I still feel, fairly new. And I was attracted to volunteering for this board as a way to get to know the community, and it really has served that purpose well. It's been a great way to get to kind of know the area a little better, and feels nice to make a contribution to the community where we all live and work and all that. So welcome, Dave, and thank you.
Awesome. And I'm just going to go in order of my screen. So Wendy, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Wendy Goodwin. I am a 22-year resident. I got here the same time as Dave, so 2000, and I'm a homeowner here, and both of my children graduated from the Thurston County School area. So, and they went through the whole thing, Mountain View to Comanche to Timberline. So yeah, I have legacy there. And I also work with the North Thurston Food Project. I do a lot of donation and collection. So if you need a green bag, I'm your person for food collections. I also work with Interfaith, and I just picked up some of my volunteer time to work at Kokua with their teams there, helping with a lot of individuals who have extreme disabilities or long-term care. So I'm excited about that. And welcome, Dave. We're happy to have you here. Yay.
We have Comanche and Timberline. In Common, that's where my daughter went, but
Yeah.
went to Horizons Elementary.
Yeah, so we live right by Wonderwood. I'm a neighbor of Aram's. I've never met him in official face-to-face, but we are neighbors. So I've loved living here, just having Wonderwood as our gateway. And my kids could walk in all directions to get to any of the schools that they were at. So it's pretty nice. Very pleased with my location, 22 years. Proud of
Yeah.
that.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks, Wendy. And Camber, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Yep, I'm Camber Good. I am over in the UGA area. I am a military Gold Star family. Also, like she said, I've been here since 2019. I have 4 kids, 14, 13, 8, and 5. So we utilize the parks a lot. My oldest son is obsessed with Rainier Vista and the skateboard park, which we've talked about a bit. So that's something that's important to my family and the RAC. And my kids are River Ridge and Nisqually and Seven Oaks. So like all those kind of areas is just something that's important to me. And I also work with the Gold Star Foundation and making sure stuff gets put in Civic Plaza. So parks are very important to me for military monuments and for my kids to play in. So I want to make sure I'm kind of integrated into this conversation and at least have a part in it. Thank you.
Awesome. And Troy.
Hi, I'm Troy Kirby, Timberline grad, and I actually live across the street from Camachin, so I win. I've been here about 5 years, left for about 15, and grew up here. So take that for what you will. But I always came back to Lacey. It was always in my heart. Rainier Vista is one of my favorite parks, along with the RAC. I got on the parks board because specifically sharps boxes, needle boxes needing to be in restrooms, and I think we've kind of combated that and gotten them to the majority, if not all, of the 54 bathrooms. And I just think that Lacey Parks always separates itself by the fact that we always not only have great parks, but we continue to add. And we don't just add the one thing that everyone wants, we add several other things, which is a great example with Greg Cuio. So welcome, Dave, and I think it's great to have you on board.
Thanks.
And Dave, there's 2 people that aren't here today. So Gary Larson, our vice chair, is not with us today. And then Declan Line, who is our youth representative, he is not here either. So you'll have an opportunity to meet them at a later date.
Okay.
Awesome.
And Chair Wheeler, do you want to allow the staff to introduce?
I certainly would, yes. Yeah, so Jen, well, I know you probably have already met Jen, but
Yeah.
Sarah or Desiree, would you like to introduce yourself? Sarah, why don't you go?
Hi, I'm Sarah Smith. I'm the executive assistant for the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department, and we have talked before.
Yes, we have.
Awesome. And Desiree?
Hi, I am Desiree. I'm the Parks and Rec coordinator for sports and fitness. I've been with the city for 4 years, going on 4 years. Wonderwood is also one of my favorite parks, and Rainier Vista. Those are the 2 that I do most of my work at, which I love them. But yeah, happy to be here and share some information tonight about my sports stuff.
Thanks, Desiree. And then, of course, the infamous Jen Burbidge, our park director. She's amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we're missing Sue Faylash. She's going to try to join as soon as possible. Ran into a snag this evening. And so hopefully she'll be able to join us. Thank you.
Awesome. That was a very comprehensive introduction, guys. I think that's the best one we've done yet. So you inspired us all, Dave. All right, so moving on to number 4, approval and corrections of the January meeting minutes. Were there any additions, deletions that anyone wanted to introduce to the board at this time?
I'll move that we approve the January meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, approved. And then number 5, there were correspondences, and it was just to give everyone an opportunity just to see some updates on that. So, and so we'll just move on to, or Jenna,
Can I jump in just real quick? So as the commissioners know, the correspondence is just to keep the commissioners updated. But if commissioners want to hear more about a topic, they could express that and we could put it on a future agenda item. So the great thing with this particular item is that the RAC policies will they're already scheduled to come back through the park board. As you know, last year we did some work on them, but we weren't quite ready to put all the finishing touches on them. And so they're going to make their way back to the park board, but they're going to make their way back to the park board via the Commission on Equity. And so, as you know, that commission is fairly new, and this is a great opportunity to run the policies through them. And then it would come to park board after getting input from that commission. So you'll definitely be seeing this coming up. I can't give you an exact date, but in the next couple of months, the RAC policies will be back on your agenda.
Thanks for that, Jen.
Yeah.
And then 6, citizens and public comment.
It looks like we have an attendee. Oh, it's Gary. Sarah Smith, can you get Gary into our panel?
Yes, I sent him the option to promote to panelist. So Gary, if you can hear me, you should have a little notification that says promotion to panelist, accept, and you should be able to hit yes or no, and you should be able to join.
My comment will be that I like the fact we have a lot of Parks Board members showing up, so this is great.
Yeah.
So I don't see anybody from the public again, Chair.
Okay.
Just checked again, so.
All right. Well, then we will move on to 7, old business. So A, Greg Cuyo Park and Greenway Master Plan.
Yeah, so Commissioner Kirby did bring that up. I am excited to let you know the latest on this. As you know, council approved the master plan that you all worked so hard on as well with the public, and that happened on February 3rd. The project website has been updated with the final plan, and I am working on getting a copy to save to the park board file. It's all digital and it's this giant sized link. So I will get it actually into the park board packet just so we have it for historical purposes. But for now, if you want to check it out at all, just go to the project website. So you council members, public, anybody can go to that link, and it's the, you go to the main city website and then you do a /. So that's www.ci.lacey.wa.us. Then you do a /, and it's GCPGMP, which is Greg Cuyo Park and Greenways Master Plan. And so that's where you can find all the information. Happy to email that out if you guys want me to do so.
Just the link, maybe, Jim? That'd be great.
Yes.
Or Sarah.
Oh yeah, actually.
That's what you're an admin for, right?
Sarah Smith, yes, if you could just send that out, she could probably do that as we speak. So appreciate that.
And I have a question about that. I was networking because I'm a big chatty person. Not big, but I am chatty. The 2 trails that are going to connect, there was a comment about those. What trails are going to connect on that space?
Okay, so eventually, or do you mean like the phase 1A?
The phase 1A, yes, and there's questions about how from that Hawks Prairie area where we're talking about, and then there was Carpenter, and there's a trail that's supposed to complete from, am I correct in saying Woodland? Yeah. Is it Woodland? That seems like
Woodland Creek neighborhood off of 15.
Yeah. Will it connect?
Yeah, so those 2 won't connect directly, but you'll be able to get over Carpenter. There'll be an overpass. Okay. Or you can cross at the main park entry. There'll eventually be a crosswalk. And then what you would do is, I can show you on the map.
Okay.
You would go through the west side of Carpenter and then connect down south. Okay. So let me show it. What I first wanted to show is the phase 1A, because that's what council has asked us to proceed with, and you all were at the work session recently, and so you heard them talk about that. So I was going to show, actually, I have phase 1A ready on my screen to show.
there's just a lot of information on those diagrams. So I was getting kind of lost and people were asking me, there's a lot of interest in this park going in. So I want to make sure I give them the correct information.
Yes, thank you. It is a huge master plan because we did, we took that balcony view like we had talked about along the way. And since these park properties are adjacent and just looking at the connectivity, we took a balcony view. It's probably about a 20-year plan. And so just if people ask you questions, just make sure that they know that like I'll show you what's in phase 1A, and then we'll take a look. I can pull up the full master plan and show you as well. You might just have to give me a minute so I can pull up in the slides. That's the easiest way for me to share it. But
I don't want to pull us too far off topic. If it's something I need to sideline, that's fine too. If everybody.
Okay. Yeah, actually that would be helpful probably for tonight, but I can just show you real quick on here. Like these are all the properties. Can you guys see this on the screen? So what you're talking about is here's Carpenter Road that goes right between the park properties. So this is the east side of Carpenter. And so you're talking about how to get across here. And this is the Palm Creek headwaters, or where the Woodland Creek neighborhood is.
Right.
So essentially for someone to get from the east side, they would need to cross over Carpenter, whether that's via the road crossing or the overhead bridge that'll eventually go in. Don't know when. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
But then they would be able to come in and down this way.
Okay.
So that's the basic idea. This is the phase 1A that's outlined in yellow. And so this is what we're talking about. Hoping to be able to have construction by the end of 2023, which would mean between now and then, there's a lot of steps that need to take place. The first one being an actual design. This is only in the concept form, so we have to actually have the civil drawings and plans and stormwater for this phase 1A. So we were able to get a design cost from HBB Landscape Architects. So it's coming in at $784,000. And what this will consist of, as you see on the slide, is design for the paved parking lot and access drive lighting, stormwater management for all the paved surfaces and improvements, trails, paved and soft surface, and there's about 100 acres of trail is what the consultant is describing it as. The 18-hole disc golf course, which you see, these indicate the holes of the disc golf course. They are not set where they're absolutely going to end up, because we're going to be working with the local South Puget Sound Disc Golf Association to help design the course. But that just shows you kind of the spacing of where they would go. It would also include the emergency only / maintenance access, which is right up here. So this will not be a public access yet. It would include a playground, one of the 3 playground circles that are shown. So these pink circles, 1, 2, 3, will make up a large playground area, but the first phase 1A only includes that top pink circle. So that's included in the yellow area there. And then it includes landscape restoration, park signage. There'll be a porta potty enclosure, like a brick type structure, like the one we have at similar to Bush Park. And because we're not doing restrooms yet. And then other site furnishings such as picnic tables, benches, bollards, fencing, stuff like that. So the scope and the contract for the design work is currently being put together. I didn't have it ready for the packet deadline, so that's something you'll see coming up in one of your packets, again, to make sure that we're, keeping you apprised of everything and documenting everything. And then Ashley Smith, our capital projects manager, she'll be going before council at tomorrow night's meeting to ask permission to proceed with the $784,000 contract with HBB Landscape Architects for the design work. So that is the latest. And are there questions about the phase 1A?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
as far as like, how far in detail with the playground equipment, do they have any idea of that?
So actually you will be quite involved with the playground equipment. So what we'll do is we will have a couple of different examples that we'll be able to share. What we did with the Wonderwood Park was our last playground equipment upgrade or install. And what we did is we gave the public actually 3 options. And they were able to be super engaged with that as well. And so the park board and the public would be involved in that process in helping determine what would go in there.
Is there any options for like special needs type of equipment or swings or anything like that?
Absolutely.
It's just, that's something that I've noticed that there's not a lot of in this area. So just kind of curious if, we were going to have that.
Yes, we can. That's absolutely a consideration. You're right. We do have them at the rack, and we have a couple at the rack, and we have one on the Sunset side of the Wonderwood equipment, recent replacements. But I think those are the only ADA swings we have in our system. So yeah, if that's something, it's nice to hear that that's something that's important to you. And I think in looking at that playground, it's probably best to look at the full playground area and then determine which piece of the 3 segments, so that it's cohesive moving forward and it's something that everybody likes the concept for.
Jen?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to throw out is, we really got a lot of headway with Parks Board commissioners in the past doing parks tours. I know we've had COVID and all that, but as we kind of get out of COVID, I do think it'd be good to kind of look at how we would do that. And I'm not suggesting that it's just hard to get your arms around some of these concepts when we've physically been out there with a few of us, but I would love to kind of see that again if possible at some point, because I don't want people to feel that they're either voting or approving on something that doesn't show tangible results, and then it can also be something that we can see when there are things for special needs kids or swing sets of that nature. That's where that knowledge can kind of come in.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. For the new park board members, we used to do tours twice a year. We usually did a spring and a fall, and we would pick different. It was pretty much based on what the board wanted to see, or we had a theme, and so we actually, Sarah Smith is going to be working with maintenance and setting a date for Greg Cuyo Park for the park board. So she's already got that on her to-do list. We're excited to be getting back in person doing stuff. So any other questions?
Okay.
Just great work. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to 7B, the Lacey Park, the 2022 work plan update. So if you guys look in the packet, you can see the 2 items that were updated for the Greg Cuyo Park Phase 1A construction and for the Greg Cuyo Park Phase 1A design and financial plan. So we'll just need I take it we need a vote on approving those additions.
Yeah, so right, so you guys kind of experienced it at the work session. Those are the 2 areas that we need to update, and so the suggested updates are located in your packet, just like Chair said.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the work plan as amended.
I second. Oh.
We're all seconded. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Motion carries.
Yeah, you're throwing us off, new Parks Board members. Now we have too many people to second stuff.
I'll always beat you, Troy. Gotcha.
Well, I saw in the last minutes, my name was on there quite a bit for the second. I was like, I better be quiet. I don't make sure I don't over second myself.
love the enthusiasm.
You can never do too many seconds. All right, so 7C, COVID-19 update.
Yeah, so it's pretty good news on the COVID front. Finally, case counts are reducing, face coverings are coming off, although as city staff, we haven't received an official word about the face covering. So even though the governor has put a date out there, we have to make sure, we're following the guidelines that we're given. So hopefully that'll be coming soon. And I think we might have a hybrid option for you all for April, which would mean you could decide whether you wanted to come into City Hall or Zoom in for the meeting, and then we could open it up to members of the public. It at first the discussion was just a limited amount of public, but I will have to see, what the city's guidance is on number of public. We're not bursting at the seams with public interaction at this moment, but you never know. We did have some big meetings when we were talking about the McAllister topic, as you'll recall. So anyway, so we'll keep you updated. I don't have an official word tonight, but we'll let you know and give you further direction on April meeting. So that's exciting.
Yeah, no more McAllister. No more McAllister meetings, please.
We never know what's going to happen. It's public demand. All right, so 7D, Long Lake Park adjacent property update.
Oh, yes. So a quick update. The owners have decided to sell. I did have the opportunity to share the park board's recommendation to the city council, which is to purchase the property if it fits in with the city budget and it's at the fair market value. And so, so I'll keep you posted on that. But that was just the latest.
Yay.
Great. And then
Sorry, just real quick. What's the timing on that, Jen? I'm just imagining if they've decided to sell, it must be fairly quick.
So actually,
Or just when you might have an
it was
update.
discussed in an executive session recently.
Just
And
curious.
yeah, so if so what I had brought up last time was that the city had the agreement for the right of first refusal, which means if there's an offer that comes in to the seller, then the city has 20 days to match that offer. But that's if the seller actually gets an offer that comes in, or they may decide to go at it a different way. I'll say that. So
That's cool.
So I don't actually know the timeline.
They're different scenarios. Totally fine. I was just
Yeah.
curious. That's all right. Thanks.
Yeah. But I really appreciate the board's, recommendation on that and being able to, that
It's
helps
an
me feel-
exciting opportunity. It's great. Okay,
we don't
thanks.
get a lot of waterfront growth opportunity anywhere these days, so we'll take it if we can get it. All right, 7D, Long Lake. Oh, wait, no, we just did that. 2022 Park Board Commission Directory.
Oh yeah, this is just, we wanted to make sure we got the most updated information to you all. We're really hoping that this is a correct full copy. So now that we have a full park board, we're so excited. But please do let us know, not here, but just email Sarah Smith if there's something that needs to be changed, but I think we've got it. So yay.
Okay, and so now that concludes old business. Now moving to new business. So 8A, which is now titled the Park Board Rules Procedures.
Yeah, so somehow, I'm not sure how, with 50+ years, the park board did not have official rules of procedure. So this would be the equivalent of bylaws, which is thus the typo that we had on the agenda, calling them bylaws. But for city governments, they're actually rules of procedure instead of bylaws, but it would be the equivalent of bylaws if it was like a nonprofit or other board. So, but I want to thank Sarah Smith for taking the new Commission on Equities rules. And so that's where the draft came from, because they're the latest board to add to the city. We thought we'd take the latest information rather than older information. So we went through and made some edits to make it more relevant to the park board from our angle. This is an action item, but if you're not ready tonight, I know that it's this is a big deal. And so if there are a lot of edits, we can provide a Word document. If anybody wants to mark it up, we can always bring it back to the park board. We just wanted you to know that you do need to take action on it and adopt your rules. So with that, I'll leave it to you for discussion.
Yeah. Well, Sarah,
Um,
you did mention that there were some changes that you wanted to make. Would you feel comfortable having time with that to make edits and bring it
If-
back to a future date?
If that's an opportunity, yes, I'd appreciate it, just for, general sort of grammatical things and numbering and a couple questions. But I would like to ask before I do that offline. Just curious, would anyone here, or whatever, what do we think as a group? Do we think it would be helpful to have even any kind of introduction about the board? Like the City of Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation Board consists of 7 volunteer members, 5 of whom reside, blah, blah, blah. I just don't know, like, it seems like there's nothing that kind of sets any kind of framework for who we are, what we do, mission.
Yeah, so Sarah,
I don't know.
excuse me, Commissioner, that's a really good point. So where that exists, and I probably should have just included the whole thing in your packet, is the guidebook for boards and commissions. It's in the City Council's policy manual.
Where there's like an overview of all the different ones.
Yeah, and I
Does
can.
it work then that these individual procedures, like they don't really serve as a standalone document, is I guess what I'm saying? Because if someone just sort of saw this document alone, I thought it might be helpful just to have a little couple sentences about who we are. But if it references, if there's a way for someone to easily look at these procedures and easily, link to whoever, whatever. So I just wanted to ask that question in general, regardless of technical changes.
Yeah, so let me show you how it exists. I can actually bring this up on my screen real quick here. And you guys can certainly decide to add whatever language you want to.
The only other thing that occurred to me with regard to something I should bring up at this meeting, because it has to do with content, is a question, especially given Erwin's recent situation. I noticed that there was nothing that had anything about residency requirement. And I don't know if that's something that would be, like, does that exist in this standards, protocols, ground rules?
Yeah.
Or should it be in our
Okay, so this is
bylaws?
so this is the boards and commissions standards, protocols, and ground rules handbook.
Right.
And like I said, this is exists in the City Council policy manual.
Cool.
And so,
Sorry, Jen.
oh no, can you see this?
Yep.
Is it big
I
enough?
think this is great. I think, yeah, a little bit of an overview, because I had some questions myself when I first started and I got all the information. It's a little overwhelming. So kind of walking through would be great. I kind of like it. So thank you, Sarah, for bringing this up. It's good
Yeah,
to get
so this-
a refresher.
Yeah, so this says the city has 9 advisory boards and commissions that act in an advisory or authoritative capacity to the council. It lists them here. So there's the Board of Park Commission right there. And it just talks about, the boards and commissions are expected to have a common and consistent standard, protocol, and ground rules, similar to those that are used by city council. And so, so basically, it talks about the Lacey is a municipal code city. Talks about some of the, organizational values. And then it goes into advisory boards and commissions. And so this is where there's kind of some general information, but then it breaks out. So planning commission is first right here. And then there's the historical commission, and then there's the board of park commissioners. So this has actually been updated now that we have 8 members. The 8-member commission makes recommendations to the city council regarding planning, promotion, acquisition, etc. And then it shows the length of the terms. It shows that there's 7 commissioners plus 1 youth representative. Here's the residency right here. 5 of the 7 commissioners must be Lacey City residents. 2 of the 7 can either be Lacey City residents or residents of the Lacey's urban growth area.
Cool.
And then it talks about how the mayor appoints. And so then if you get through all of the different commissions, the 9 commissions, then there's some interpersonal standards, protocols, and ground rules. And we give this to new commissioners. So each new commissioner should get this with their orientation. And then it talks about open government rules. And then here is the appendices. This is where your regulations would reside. So here we only have a public hearing procedure for the park board, which we don't even really do public hearings that often. So here's the planning commission. So then it just goes into the appendices. So this is where all of them exist. And it's interesting, see the historical commission, they are actually, theirs is more like just policies. It's not even in the same format. So it's like here they have their attendance policy, meeting policy, election of officers, historian of the year, mitigation policy for proposed, etc. Lacey Pioneer Award.
Wow.
This is all that's in there for the park board. This is because this is when I was asked for this was all I could find in the files.
So
And
Jen, are
then-
you saying when this is done, our new little procedure thing that we're looking at tonight, will that become incorporated into this document? Like there'll
Yes.
be a link or something?
Right. So yes, it will. And so if I guess from my standpoint, it doesn't necessarily need an intro about
Right.
the park
Got
board
it.
because it's already there.
Yep.
And I'm so sorry, you wouldn't have known that. But I mean, again, it's up to you all. If you do want to have something in case somebody just finds this and wants to have a little bit of information, it's so easy for us to insert it if that's something that you want.
So from my perspective, I guess my recommendation would be that we even have one sentence that says, for additional information regarding who knows what we want to say, then have just a link back to the, so that there are links in both documents that they cross-reference. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
Okay.
So if folks don't mind, I do have, yeah. So yeah, I'm the person, I would like the Word version just so that I can do a track changes and get it back to Sarah Smith. And then the final version would come back for approval next time, if you guys don't mind. I just don't want to take people's time. It would be, you wouldn't like it.
We've had 52 years without one. We can wait another month. It's okay.
I think so.
Good.
Well, but are there items of significance that you want to, maybe just content, not
Well,
not like
that's
grammar?
why I raised the question about a possible intro, because I wasn't sure what the purpose of this document was. And so I wondered if we wanted an intro, and then it brought to mind the residency question. Everything else wasn't really substantive. I guess towards the end, there is something about public comment, and I was going to add just something that takes us off the hook with a sentence that might say something like, the board does not respond to public comments, during any given meeting, but we may ask clarifying questions or could recommend as a future topic, which is what you mentioned, Jen, too. I just thought I might throw that in there as an addition, and everything else is more just grammatical.
Okay, yeah, so you could throw that in on the draft. And also, do any of the other commissioners want this document sent that they can provide feedback, right, in the same manner? Or would you rather take a look at what Sarah provides next meeting and go from there?
I think we should all get it, even if we
Yeah,
don't. end
I
up
think that's a
having
good
it.
idea. Everyone gets a Word document of it.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to make a change, but
So I just noticed that
Yeah.
it says for term of office, just says terms of commissioner shall be for 3 years, and terms shall be staggered, but it doesn't say anything about there being, how many terms you can do. So I know, like right now we do 2 terms, but it doesn't specify that in the terms of office either. So.
In that document Jen referenced, it mentioned the term.
Oh, did it mention that? Did I miss that? Okay. Okay.
No, I happened to notice it because I was curious about that too. I thought
Yeah,
term
so
served longer, but
And so in that case, you could just remove that section about that out of these then, if you want to just keep all that.
oh,
stuff.
because it does appear, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
so, I
Okay.
mean, that's a
And-
good point.
And do we have anything since this is kind of a volunteer, I mean, we do interview and do the process, but is there any protocol if you are leaving the board? Like, should you give notification so that we can make arrangements when somebody is leaving, so you're not without a person in certain positions?
Yes.
We've had a
yeah.
lot of changes, which we're
Yeah.
aware of, but
Yeah, it's a letter to the mayor because he's the one who appoints with the full, of course, the full council's approval after that. But yeah, that's a good point. And I don't recall off the top of my head if that's in the intro stuff.
yeah, because I don't have it in my handbook, the one that I received. So, and then when we did the peep from 5 to 7, that's why I was kind of like, oh, I thought other people had left, but then there was a lot of transitioning going on, but I didn't know if you're going to leave or you're not going to, do we give you 2 weeks? Do you need a month? You know, what is the kindness? Because we are volunteer, you know, it's not like a 2-week notice at your job. If we have emergencies or family, you got something to do, but I didn't see that in the handbook that I received. So. And I don't know if Sarah has that in hers. Do you have that in your copy, Sarah?
You mean Sarah Smith or me?
Sarah Daniels. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything either about resigning from the board for whatever reason. And I agree that would be a helpful thing to put. We may as well, whatever Jen would say would be, the ideal amount of time. Certainly people will do whatever they're able to do, but we might have a wish, for a month or more, I would think, because we only meet once a month. So certainly as soon as someone knows, but whatever we decide to say.
Yeah, so it doesn't break your quorum, if you're having a meeting for quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will send it out and just remember not to have conversation about it.
Right.
Because that would be considered a meeting.
We'll just directly with you.
Yep. So so Sarah Smith, if you could just email that out to all the board members, that would be great in a Word format so they can
Thank you.
send edits. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Daniels. Sarah Daniels.
Sarah D. At my last job, they just called me Sarah D because there was more than one Sarah. It's easier if that works for you.
Oh, okay. I can do that. Sure. Now I feel like we're getting on a level here.
Or you can also be super technical and call her Commissioner Daniels.
Oh, okay. I'll get real.
You got both.
You want me to get real formal? Okay. Commissioner Daniels, thank you
No.
very much for reviewing that.
That's too much to say. I appreciate it though.
Yes.
All right, so that brings us to 8B, Parks, Culture, and Recreation 2023 Comprehensive Plan Update.
Yeah, so we have done a few things to get the comprehensive plan update project started. We had a meeting with city staff to identify all the members of the team that will be on the project, and we're happy to report there's good, strong support. As it's not surprising, but from our public works, park maintenance, our public affairs, community and economic development, and also GIS departments. Those are all the departments that will be helping with this update. It's a pretty big project. It's a heavy lift. It's super important. As you know, it's our guiding document for our department. So really excited about it. Sarah Smith and I put together a timeline with some benchmarks. And I really want to thank her for getting us set up. We've got a new project management software that we're getting used to in our department. I'm getting used to it. It's called Monday.com. And so I asked her to go ahead and pull that up and share our timeline on what we worked on.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Go ahead. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. And then Jen, do you want to go through it or do you want me?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we hit our benchmark. We assembled the teams. That's marked as done. We set ourselves some deadlines. They may move, so these are not hard and fast deadlines. They're kind of more like working estimates. We know we need to work on some of the branding for the comprehensive plan. We need to determine if we even need to have more community outreach because we've done so many surveys. And so we're working on some of these sub items to make that determination. We're hoping to have that figured out by the end of March. We're going to start doing the asset inventory for parks. We want to have that done by April. We want to have our strategic goals determined by almost the end of June. And then our priority actions are going to be decided. So we know we have to meet all of these different items for our priority actions or our CIP. And we want to have the first draft completed by August 30th. And that might be an ambitious timeline, but I think we can do it. We're starting early enough that I think it's reasonable. We know we need to have all of these different components to the first draft. They're going to have to be involved in any part of any version of the comprehensive plan. So these are our different components that are going to be going into that draft. We want to have the review for it done by September 9th, so we can start working on our second draft with any updates or changes we need to make. We want to have our second draft done by January 30th of 2023. We want to get the final plan sent over to RCO and get their self-certification form. And then we start, because after that second draft review, that's going to be when we're ready to start presenting it to some of the commissions. We're going to do this before we finish that second draft review. So you guys are going to see some of the first draft, and then we're going to circle back into our second draft based on the feedback that we get from the Historical Commission, Park Board, Equity Commission. And then we're going to be able to work that into our second draft review and have that ready for our comp plan work session. And then we're going to have a public hearing, present to the Planning Commission, and then it's out of our
Oh, we're losing you, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, I think you dropped off.
Is that better? Weird.
Yep, go ahead and try. If not, I can take it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay.
Your screen was fine. It's just your audio is not
Oh,
your.
I think I'm too far away from my microphone. So we want to get our mandatory meetings. We've got the recurring meeting schedule done. We don't know if we need to meet with a consultant. We've got to have our branding meeting. We've got that scheduled. So we're working on it. Going to have our park maintenance meeting, which we haven't set a date for yet. It's going to be contingent on that meeting above it. And we finished some of our benchmarks already. So we got our Jen spoke to the executive team. We assembled our comp plan team, and our team members were added to our first meeting. So we are moving, but we've set some big benchmarks and some ambitious deadlines for this plan. I think are very doable.
Yeah, and so thank you so much, Sarah, for your efforts. As you can see, this type of tool is going to be really helpful for us to have in our department, especially for projects like this. Yeah, those deadlines will have to move. I mean, we definitely, will need to include the park board with our community outreach. As you guys know, we got insights and recommendations from the consultant and the outreach team that worked together last year. And so we're going to be following up on all the items in there and looking for further input. But at our kickoff meeting with staff, we talked about survey fatigue. You might have heard Sarah touch on that just a little bit. So we just want to make sure that whatever we're doing, whatever type of outreach we're doing is very strategic and directive. And one of the things I was thinking about is having a booth at some of our upcoming events so that, instead of, we've done a lot of online surveys because of COVID, and also it's just easy for people to access, but it'd be great to be out in the community really talking to people. So I was wondering if members of the park board would want to help with this, and if so, please let me know.
I'm in for you, Jen. Just let me know.
Okay, cool.
I will help. I will definitely help.
Thank you.
As long as I have a schedule and you tell me where to go, I'll be there.
Awesome.
All right. So I think we're good with that. We don't need there's no action plan on that one. So
Right. I just want to make sure you guys were updated, and yeah, it's exciting.
awesome. Well, thank you. And Sarah, thank you for putting so much work on that. It's more organized than I could possibly imagine being. So good job. All right, 8C, annual report, park board message.
Okay, so the annual report, the full report is scheduled to come to you for approval next meeting, so in April. But before putting the park board message into that, I wanted to check it with you all and just see if that's because that's the portion that has all your gorgeous photos at the top and then message from the board. So wanted to make sure
If we have like
that first.
if we have updated photos, can we provide that?
Yeah.
Okay. When would be the deadline for that?
Well, I was hoping to get final approval from you all at the next meeting, so like ASAP.
Okay. Okay.
Just send it to Sarah. She'll make sure it gets into the draft.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Jenny Wilson might have done a call for it, for the photos. Did she send you guys?
Mhm. I
No?
didn't see anything.
Oh, she may have only gotten the new commissioner photos.
I sent mine in.
Okay. Yeah, just if you have an update, just email it to Sarah. She'll make sure Jenny Wilson gets it.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
So it sounds like we might have some changes. Do you want me to pull it up onto the screen?
What's easiest for you?
Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick here. So there's going to be a section with accomplishments already in the annual report. And so we won't repeat that here, but this is just kind of a statement as far as, the board wants to recognize all the accomplishments that are already included in the annual report. And then here are some of the other happenings from 2021. So board got bigger.
Does
COVID
anyone
adjustments.
else have comments?
Not personally.
Just me.
All right,
All right.
let's have them, because then we can do
Yeah.
approval as amended.
Okay, so under the section, board got bigger, could we say commissioners to grow from 5 to 7 members for increased diversity and community representation?
Yep.
If ever, I'll just throw all these out and then people can have their comments afterward if they like them or not. On COVID-19 adjustments, I would say, once again, the board held all meetings virtually in 2021 due to the continuing public health crisis. I just think it reads a little easier.
Okay.
I would delete in addition and say the Parks Board supported staff during. Now, are you writing things down? You're not making, okay, right?
Yeah, I was just writing it down.
Okay, good. So what I would say is, because the middle part of that sentence reads difficult. It's hard to read because it says they supported staff through opening back up to in-person offerings again and the continuing, anyway. So here's what I'd like to say instead. The Parks Board supported staff during, jump to the ongoing challenges of ever-changing guidelines, because I want to move that opening back up to a later place. So I want to say the Parks Board supported staff during the ongoing challenges of ever-changing guidelines and safety requirements for programs, blah, blah, blah. Then I would say, in addition, the board, where's my little note? Sorry. So I need to find I'm hoping we need to find a way to say, in addition, the board, supported staff through opening back up to in-person meetings and offerings again. It's more that just the way it was written for me was clunky. You guys can, in the office, the city staff, you guys can look at that and just see if you can massage it a little bit.
Okay.
On staff updates, on the sentence that begins with the board enjoys hearing from staff, can you please just add regarding? Because it says the board enjoys hearing from staff ongoing challenges. No, can you say regarding ongoing challenges and accomplishments?
Oh yeah, towards the bottom there.
Yeah, it begins
Right-
with the
right
board
here.
enjoys.
Yeah.
The board enjoys hearing from staff. Can you just add regarding
Yes.
ongoing challenges and accomplishments? And then I wanted to say and appreciates, because I'm a person who doesn't like the same word in a sentence if you can pick something else. So since we enjoy hearing from staff regarding challenges, we appreciate, I want to say appreciate ongoing opportunities to interact with and support staff in this way. So we appreciate and appreciates ongoing opportunities to interact with and support staff in this way.
Yep.
In the Parks and Recreation Month, just for me, I'm hoping that somewhere in there, a couple of these things are titles and that you could italicize them. If you want to say the Parks Association, July is Parks and Recreation Month, I think that might be the title. Let's see, it says the park celebrated the National Recreation and Park Association's July is Parks and Recreation Month. I'm hoping that's a thing. I would capitalize M for month if it is, in case, you know, if July is Parks and Recreation Month was a thing, I would italicize that. And then in the next sentence, the 2021 theme was, I would italicize our Parks and Recreation story or underline whatever. It's just visually easier to read as a reader for me.
Okay.
Then just a couple smalls in community engagement. Could we add, determine the best approach for community engagement going forward?
Yes.
I'm assuming you mean community, but for me, it read a little more clear. And then last small thing, the board will continue this work to prepare instead of and. Well, I don't know. So maybe that's just me. So don't worry about that one. Up to you guys. Small thing. It just read awkward.
Or you can just put the board will continue working or preparing. The board will continue preparing for the upcoming parks.
Thank you. I like that too.
Yeah, so kind of take those extra words out.
Thank you.
Yeah. And do we need to mention anything in the growing of the up above, the growing of it with our youth council? Will.
Oh, that'd be nice to mention that we have our youth representatives back.
Yeah. With the board
It's
got
exciting,
bigger.
actually.
Yeah, and if we have some, you know, other people in our team group, it'd be really nice to kind of promote that for them. Mentioning that. I think that's really important.
Which also
so we've
diversity.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it also speaks to the diversity, because I for one was excited when we increased our membership of commissioners, because we really did need more diversity. I've been the only female commissioner for the past 3 years. In addition to, I mean, you know, just to mention, you know, anyway, we've increased diversity, and the student member is an important part of that, like Wendy said.
Yeah, so I was just going to mention, I think that's a good way to do it, because the youth member has always been in existence. We just didn't have one for a couple of years due to some difficulties. But so yeah, I think just at least mentioning.
We can just make mention of it. We're excited to have our our youth representative active again after a 2-year absence due to COVID.
And full disclosure, Sarah, even though you may have been in the minority, you were still running most of the show. So, I mean that it's like we've not been where it's been exclusionary toward. I mean, you've been the vice chair.
I didn't mean it was excluded. And don't forget, Ken was part of this board, so don't say I was running this board. Ken didn't leave that long ago.
So I'm going to throw in a couple of little small stylistic things as long as we're doing
cool.
this.
Thank you.
On the staff updates, Sarah discussed a lot of changes, which were fine. But I think once those were in there and it said supporting staff, I don't think we need in this way to end that sentence.
I'm sorry, which section is that?
Oh, this is staff updates.
Okay.
The very end of it, Sarah suggested a lot of good changes, but it ended up supporting staff in this way. And I just think once you say staff, you don't need in this way at that point.
Oh, supporting supporting staff.
Interacting and supporting staff, period, end of paragraph. That's my thought. And then the other one, really picky, but in the Parks and Recreation Month, Kwame Alexander wrote a poem based on combined input from all over the country. Do you need combined there? Because input from all over the country is clearly going to be combined.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's needed.
Oh,
Yeah.
you don't think it's needed? Yeah.
I don't
okay.
think it's needed combined. I agree with you.
Okay. That was it. Just a couple little things.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And can I say, as the primary polisher, I really appreciate your feedback. No, thank you. It's great.
Is there any other input that anyone had? All right, well, we'll just wait a couple minutes so Jen can get that all compiled and written right. So we know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So
No, I think I've got it, but the question is, do you all trust me to make those as amended, approval as amended, or would you like it to, I mean, I guess it can get approved with the final report, right? Next
Because the
month.
final report's next month, right?
Yeah.
yeah, if that's when if that's when we would need a motion item, I mean, I guess it's an action item tonight, so we would make a motion to trust Jen to make everything proper and present it to us at the next meeting for finality.
So it'd be, yeah, the motion would be approved as amended.
Yeah.
Or you can not take action and just approve the whole thing next month. Either
What
way,
do you prefer, Jen?
probably approve as amended.
So I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
I'll
second. Or I'll, yep,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you everyone for their input. All right, that leads to, back at the top here, the director's report, 9A, staff presentation by Desiree.
That's me. Can I share my screen here? Yes. I have a very, very short presentation, so don't be concerned with the PowerPoint coming up. Let's see if that'll open. So as I said in the beginning, I am Desiree. I'm the rec coordinator for sports and fitness. I do lots of youth sports stuff, and I was asked just to sort of highlight a couple of our most recent things. As we all are all very well aware of, COVID had stopped a lot of stuff and had changed a lot of things for us. So this last fall, we were able to bring back our basketball league, which we were super excited about. It was our first season back post-COVID stuff. We had 20 teams. I've been trying to grow our 6th grade division in this league because the 6th graders are kind of in that weird interim where they can't play basketball in middle school and they don't really have options outside of it. We had pretty good interest the season before COVID hit. And so I was really hoping to grow from that. And then with the break, we had about 20 kids that signed up. And so they'd be just playing each other the whole time. So it didn't work out. But we did end up with 20 teams, which is pretty typical for this league since I've been here. That's about 35 volunteers, parents, friends that are coaching and assisting coaching the teams. We are in the schools, in their gyms. We use the elementary schools for all their practices. And coaches are looking at, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week of volunteer service. So it was really awesome. Another thing that we added this year that I was really excited about, our T-ball league has coach plaques that they've done since I got here. And a lot of our coaches do both basketball and T-ball and are kind of interacting in both of them. And I really like the idea of offering plaques to our coaches in basketball as well. We didn't do a little ceremony like we do for T-ball, but they were really excited to get them. Our photographer is phenomenal, and he created these really, really incredible pieces. I wish I had a photo to share with you, but I didn't take one because that's my brain right now. But they were really awesome, really appreciated. So we were excited about that to get back into it. And then just to really touch back on our next sports league for youth is coming up is our T-ball league. And this last summer was our first summer back, and we had insane numbers. And it seems to be the trend that anything outdoors is getting a lot more interest and a lot more buy-in than the indoor sports stuff. But last summer we had the 3 divisions, or 4 divisions. There's 4 divisions. That's a typo. 4 divisions. We had almost 400 kids in the league. It was craziness. We kept our partnership with the Kiwanis Club. They sponsor our medals that we give out at the end of the year, or they help to pay toward those. With our 380 kids, we had over 50 volunteers. And it was awesome. It was craziness, but it was awesome. So we have that coming up here. That'll be in our summer brochure, and that will begin in June. And I'm just looking forward to a nice, big, awesome season of that too. Any questions? I'm happy to answer any questions. Quick and brief.
Desiree, I just want to say this is exciting news that people are participating. What do we expect now that 2022 might be the year of the unmask? I mean, how are we going to handle if all of a sudden we have, double or triple the numbers?
We put limits on it because this last summer I learned that lesson the hard way. I wanted all of these kids to be able to play and come and out because they've been stuck for so long. And I was really excited to get back in there. And then we've had some staffing struggles, as everybody has. So I was a lone wolf, a lot of it, and it was insane. But we had to use a third location for practices and games because we had too many teams to use Rainier Vista and Wonderwood. So we added in a Squally Middle School, which means another staff, another person, more fields to chalk. So I'm trying to figure out the sweet spot for that. I also want to add a kid pitch because we go up to coach pitch in our 4 divisions. I'd love to grow the program into a kid pitch so they can get that experience, because it kind of goes from this like coach pitch in our division, in our rec program, into, like Black Hills Youth Baseball, where it's just a full pitch. So they kind of miss out on, I think there's a little gap there. But spacing is always a struggle because this time of year, our fields are just booked full, and we take up 8 weeks of that with our league now at 2 of our locations that are 2 of our best locations. So trying to navigate around that. And so I have to put some limitations on number of people that we can have in our leagues, so I don't overextend or take up too much space.
Definitely a balancing act, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if there was any like sports programs that we don't have that's like on your wish list of what you want to create.
Yes. There are, it's another balancing act of, we don't offer any soccer programs ourselves, any soccer leagues ourselves. We partner with quite a few programs that offer soccer clinics or classes and that sort of thing, but we don't have any leagues. There's a bunch of amazing leagues that are in the area, but as far as rec leagues go, we don't have any of that. I think it's something that has potential to be an interest. Other areas that we are lacking that I've heard from other middle school and high school coaches are like tennis things, wrestling, and track and field. And so we've been working on adding, with those partnerships with the schools, adding classes and clinics over summer so that the kids can get some experience, and trying to build. We were really working on building some sort of track and field thing, and then COVID happened, so it kind of put a stop on all of it. We were able to do an outdoor camp and clinic with St. Martin's last summer, which usually gets a lot of kids in that too. So those are probably the 3 that we don't have ourselves now, that I would love to look at adding programs and growing programs, or even, getting bigger contracts with different people to do them.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And I just want to put in a plug for Desiree. She has amazing energy. She's got great ideas. She is a collaborative staff member of ours. She works very closely with North Thurston Public Schools. So really appreciate your efforts there, Desiree. We meet with the school staff every month, and Desiree's been a participant in that process. And she's also really increased the communication, like via email, and really kind of nailing down dates. Before Desiree got here, we did have some communication challenges, which we're not perfect, but she's really helped with that. So just really appreciate your partnership there. And we are actually doing some program assessments right now. And so it's interesting you guys ask about ideas. So we're actually going into our staff meeting tomorrow in looking at, what we've traditionally offered, what the numbers look like, what kind of demographics are we reaching, what did we hear from our community outreach that we did last year, what are some short-term changes we could make, and what are some longer-term changes we could make. So yeah, we'll be excited to share with the park board on that. And Desiree also schedules all the school district fields. She did not mention that in her presentation. So It's for some of you newer park board members that don't know, that we have a one-stop shop for outdoor spaces between our fields and the school district fields, so that we can help balance that community use throughout the, throughout the whole community. Some of them are off limits, like South Sound Stadium, we don't schedule that one, or the new Timberline track and football field, we don't. But Desiree does all of that, so she does a lot.
That's a full-time job in itself.
She
For
also
sure.
helps with special events too. That was part of her coordinator position. Of course, that's been a little more on hold because of COVID, but she is a huge part of our 3rd of July celebration. She typically takes care of all the food vendors and other organization pieces to that event, and is also on our wellness committee, the city's wellness committee. She is a fitness expert. And so she's a little more amazing than what she made herself out to be tonight. She does a lot.
Desiree, do you feel like you have enough volunteers that are helping you out as well? Do you need support in the volunteer arena, or do you, because
For-
380 kids, that's a lot of kids on some of your events.
Yes. Most of our teams vary from anywhere from like 8 to 10 kids. And so most of the volunteers that I use are coaches. And so there are a lot of them are parents and then friends of parents or like older kids for, within the family that help out at practices and stuff. And I'm great with that. And with the T-ball, the Kiwanis Club, they actually come out at the end of the season for our little ceremony. We do a little raffle and it's kind of a fun day. And they send out at least 2 to 3 people to help hand out the medals and kind of help be, kind of keep that going and be on time and and be a member there and have they bring their banner. And so they're a lot of help with that too. And so I think as far as volunteers go for my sports stuff, I typically have to like pull a couple arms of parents toward the end of like, we don't have a coach, we need a coach. But for the most part, I get really good involvement, and everyone that is is a part of it as a coach. I send out a survey after just to kind of gauge if I can do anything better, if there's things that they like want to see differently. And the feedback that I get from those are always super positive and super grateful. And so I think that really helps kind of move them forward and come back and volunteer again with us. So I think I'm good on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Desiree.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. All right. Is there a sports commission report today?
We don't have one. We got a pretty extensive one at the work session, the joint work session.
Okay, right. And did Sue ever get here?
I don't see her. And so just real quickly, as far as, we got a pretty good programs update from Desiree, at least for the sports. We do have, so in regards to, we've still got swim programs going on. We've got a new family open swim that's going to be starting up. Just trying to remember a couple things off the top of my head. There is, the staff are all planning the summer program right now. The winter spring brochure is out currently, but the summer program brochure will come out. That'll have all like the summer day camp and the Playground Pals information. It'll have other sports leagues like outdoor volleyball. There's softball leagues. But the registration, I want to say, is May 11th.
11th or 15th, one of the two.
Yeah, it's mid-May for registration starting up. And so staff are working on finalizing all the details for the summer programs right now. So that's kind of in a nutshell. But with the events, next a week, not this weekend, but the next is Cultural Celebration at St. Martin's. And we're really excited about that event. We've got Jeanette just reported there's like just under 40 vendors that are going to be participating. And so that's a really great experience. It's presented by Twin Star Credit Union. And then we also have the Lacey Spring Fun Fair coming up May 21st and 22nd. And that's, probably our biggest event because it's over the course of 2 days. There's kids activities, tons of performances, lots of different foods. So that's going to be coming up really soon too. And then of course we're gearing up for summer concert and entertainment series, all the movies in the park have been announced. Those take place at Huntermer. And the 3rd of July is back at Rainier Vista. We're so excited.
Also,
So-
just pop in the cultural event too. The cultural celebration is a hybrid event, so you can watch it, online virtually, or you can attend in person, which is really kind of awesome, I think, too.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I think
it's all super exciting. I missed the 3rd of July for sure. That's a lot of fun. Okay.
that's it for that one.
So 9D, any construction project updates?
Yeah, so we are finally installing the rack video camera upgrades or additions. So that was on hold because of COVID and supply chain issues. We actually have, there's a couple cameras still. I think there's 7 still that are back ordered. But it's super exciting to get more beefed up security out there. As you know, we've had some vandalism and theft issues. So we've had to really beef that up, and we'll be doing more of that at Rainier Vista Park as well this coming year. And then the other construction project that's going on, it's considered a construction project, but it's actually a demolition, but it's happening over at the old warehouse. The 5700 Lacey Boulevard building is getting torn down actually as early as Monday. And let me just give you a brief update on that. So it's between Pacific Avenue and Lacey Boulevard, and it's phase 3 of the new Lacey Museum and Cultural Center project. So this is the project that is kind of under the Historical Commission, but it crosses over to the park board because it is actually a park site. There's a train themed playground out there. We have the Lacey Depot that's available for rentals or free drop-in use off the trail. So that old warehouse is going to get torn down. And it was funded, it's phase 3 of the project. It was funded by the city's 2nd Heritage Capital Projects grant from the Washington State Historical Society. They've been super supportive of this project. And then phase 4, which is actually construction of the new facility, is intended to take place by 2026, depending on funding. So there's lots of different grant opportunities. There's a Lacey Foundation, a nonprofit community group that's forming right now that's going to be supporting a lot of the fundraising for this project. So I'll be excited to share more information about that as we go along. But until then, because it's going to be the next several years, right? The warehouse won't be there. There'll be some space. So not only is it the home of the depot, like I mentioned, but also it's the city's food truck plaza. So there'll be lots of diverse foods to try. We're actually putting in the Community and Economic Development Department is putting in a stage, like it's temporary. It's like a 5 to 6 year, temporary structures. So there'll be entertainment. We can do pop-up markets that'll provide additional seating for the food trucks. It'll be a better setup for the food trucks, better power access, a better pad for their trucks. And then we'll have an educational kiosk regarding the new Museum and Cultural Center project installed on site. And of course, like I mentioned, the train playground is a huge hit over there as well. So that's what's going on over at that site. And hopefully you know where I'm talking about. If you know the St. Martin's baseball field, it's kind of a little further east and across Pacific from there. So yeah, that's all I have about construction projects.
Great. All right. 9E, planning.
So we actually have some slides to show you that Sarah Smith put together per your request for some playground structures that can also double as water features. So I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Okay, I realized I was speaking and I kept myself muted. All right, so I put together some of this multi-use splash park examples that I was looking at. I tried to find some spots that were local, and I looked at some spots a little farther out. So we have some cool demonstrations of this stuff. So this is Yelm City Park, and as you can see, it's a splash pad, but if the water is turned off, it's also like a small play area. This one is right next to one of their play structures, and it functions as a little bit of both. So you have the splash pad here, and it feeds directly into this park, and that's in Candle Park in Tacoma. You also have Crossroads Park, Crossroads Playground in Bellevue. This is a splash pad, as you can see, and they've also got this giant whale. They have a climbing wall, so it's fully integrated as part of the park. They can use it during summer or all the way into the winter. Whenever they choose to use it, people can still show up. And this one's pretty cool. This is Windjammer Park in Oak Harbor, Washington. This is the spray pad that once it's turned off, again, remains a play area for kids, which is pretty cool. And this is Ice Age Floods Playground in Spokane, Washington, which is honestly probably one of the coolest. And all this research did was make me very jealous of kids today. This is a huge play area. You can see this structure over here is also present on the left and the right. But this splash pad area is a little bit more visible on the right-hand side. That wall next to the side of it is actually a rock climbing wall. So it gets bigger up over the side. There's a slide over here. It's a fully functional playground with or without the splash pad being activated. This one's kind of cool. It's downtown Commons in Clarksville, Tennessee. So it's kind of an integrated splash pad. You've got the sitting area. You've got some of these growing areas that they're using to put in some greenage. And it's basically on an incline. So when the splash pad goes off, this fills with water a little bit so kids can play, people can get their ankles wet, but it doesn't come all the way up into this primary sitting and forest area. You also have this in St. Vincent de Paul, Quebec. This is, again, just like the other ones, this is pretty cool. Once it's turned off, it's still a fully functional playground, which is awesome. It's a giant bucket feature. And then Parkersburg, West Virginia has a very similar play structure to that one with multiple different slides. And this one turns into a water slide. And those are the coolest playgrounds I've ever seen. So, yes.
And I think Commissioner Good shared one or two of those.
Well, I definitely sent the Clarksville. I lived there for 14 and a half years specifically, and my kids played in that. It's really cool because it's like a creek kind of area, and the what is that place that's up there by Rainier that's like a zoo? I can't remember. Northwest Trek. You know how like they have kind of like the dam bridge with the stones in it and the play area for the kids. I don't know if anybody's been out there, and they have like the fake beavers and stuff. That's really what it's like. And the kids, they just go out, and of course it's like 102 degrees out there in Tennessee all the time. And so like the kids like pulling up their pants, you'd always like make sure you had towels in the car, because if you go down there and there's an ice cream shop, because it's a public partnership, so like they would get ice cream and then they would, you know, rinse it off in that creek thing. So it was real popular there.
That's cool. So yeah, hopefully, yeah, thank you, Sarah, for putting that together. And hopefully that answers your question that yes, park structures can double as water features and gives us some good ideas moving forward.
And I
love that.
I look at that Spokane one and I just like makes my mouth water thinking of like that, just that giant play structure too. Just looks so much fun to have something like that. But that's the wish.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for doing the research on that. That was fun. Made me look forward to summer or at least spring or something.
It made me wonder like how much are people in Quebec enjoying that bucket when it splashes? I mean, I can only imagine it's probably only warm 3 weeks out of the year, enough to want to get hit with a big bucket of water. All right, so 9F, or is that where we're at? 9F, grants and budget?
Yeah, I'll quickly mention that we are going to be applying for grant money for the Greg Cuyo Park Phase 1A through the Recreation and Conservation Office. We think there are 3 categories that we can apply for, but we're just fleshing that out now. And Sarah's been a huge help with that as well. So we'll keep you.
What's the impact of not getting those grants?
We'll keep you updated. So council, so as the park board helps really come up with the financial plan, once we get better numbers from the consultant on what it's going to cost to build it, council has expressed interest in looking for reserve funds to pay for the Phase 1A. But it just means that we can leverage, because we know we have match, we can leverage the city funds with grant money. And so it just makes the city's funds go farther, essentially. So, you know, if we can pull in about $1 million, we can pull in probably up to $1 million in grant funding. Then that's just $1 million for a future project, you know, or
Would it
more.
expedite like instead of it being like a 1A and a 1B and a 1C, could all those be, if we got that grant money, if it's like, hey, we have enough to fund, you know, 1A, 1B, 1C all at the same time instead of staggering it more for funding options?
Potentially, I mean, it would be, the other phases are pretty expensive. So I don't know that
Okay.
we could do a complete next phase, but
Yeah.
we could definitely take a look at it.
Okay.
You know, opens up opportunities. Ultimately, it would be a council decision because of the dollar amount.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, we just try to bring in funding as much as we possibly can. So it just helps the money go farther.
We'll do a bake sale this summer. How about that? And then we'll, all right. So 9G volunteers.
I don't have anything for 9G or H.
Okay.
Tonight.
And then thank you so much for that report, Jen. I appreciate it. And then commissioner's report. Is there anything that any commissioner wanted to add or, you know, announce, present? No, nothing. Okay. One thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to thank everyone for being present. You know, our board has grown and everyone is doing a really good job at, you know, attending and being here for the park board, and everyone's very engaged and, you know, willing to throw in their 2 cents, and that just makes us a stronger board. So I just wanted to thank everyone for that. And then, yeah, any committee reports from the Park Foundation?
No, nothing yet. Hopefully next time. I know I've said that before.
Okay, that's great. And if that is it, then that is it at 6:57. Our meeting for March 22 Lacey Park Commission is done.
Thank you, everyone.
And
Thank you.
Dave,
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Yeah.
great evening.
you too. And
Thank
again,
you.
welcome, Dave. Look forward to many more months with you. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye, Dave.